This video contains spoilers for everything up to and including the second phase of Arc 10, or Volume 45. Watch this at your own risk. The second phase of Arc 10 has brought about something I've long dreamt of: a fugitive Subaru arc. That's right, Natsuki Subaru is on the run after he's accused not only of being an accomplice to the traitorous Crusch, but also of being the new Sin Archbishop of Sloth. His bestie Tiga was no bestie at all, and Subaru, Crusch, and Beatrice evade his attack and escape into the sewers. But that's not all. Amelia and Rom are held captive by the kingdom. Otto the arsonist burns down another building. Reinhardt unsheaths the dragon sword against their camp. Wilhelm teams up with his wartime nemesis, Old Man Rom, to take everyone to safety. And Russell Fellow inducts Subaru into his spy organization? Join me as I go through the volume, pointing out some of my observations, predictions, and, towards the end, the interesting character parallels we're left to chew on. So, without further ado, let's get started. Last time, I predicted that Crusch was forged into a killer through the use of dream magic, the holy sacrament conducted by Falore being used to implant dangerous ideas into her mind. And I was dead wrong. Instead, underneath her eye patch is a dragon eye, which seems to give her enhanced senses and abilities. I have a lot of questions. First and foremost, what the hell even is a dragon eye? Did the sacrament cause it, or was it the result of dragon blood alone? Maybe latent until the sacrament removed the blood's negative effects? I get the impression it wasn't the church's intention to give her the dragon's eye, because I can't see why Capella would want to empower her opposition. That being said, she also has her memories back, and Gluttony was just killed by a party that matches the capabilities of Capella and her underlings, so it's hard to ignore that clear connection. It may all be part of her plan. I have a suspicion, though, that it's related to Crusch's closeness with the royal family, who are known for having a covenant with the dragon. The last volume spent a great deal of time emphasizing her relationship with Fourier. He was clearly in love with her, even if Ferris plays coy about it when Amelia asks. So I wonder if that, somehow, is the key to it. The power of love is a curious thing, and it would be far from the first time it's been the cause of supernatural feats in the series. Maybe there's some connection to dragon abilities within the royal bloodline that can be imparted to others. I don't really know. When I start to think about Volcanica and how he's Roswell's butler now and all the unacknowledged implications that has, I start to get a headache. Marcos and the Royal Guard arrive at the Amelia camp's quarters and escort Amelia and Rom to the royal castle, while the others are placed under house arrest. Amelia is interrogated about Subaru, who the council believes is the next incarnation of the Sin Archbishop of Sloth. Bordeaux brings up Subaru's unknown and suspicious origins, the same way Aridna did at the Pleiades Watchtower. Just who is Knight Natsuki Subaru and from where did he come? There are no records of that individual anywhere before he stepped ahead and named himself as your knight at the royal castle. I love that this is finally happening. I've been waiting for this development for a long time. I know that the council's been infiltrated and this is a smear campaign, but Subaru is suspicious as hell. And there's a bit of an under-discussed mystery of what's going on with him and Sloth. Betelgeuse, along with Regulus, is present in the Shadow Garden. The Shadow Garden in general is something we still don't understand, but I'll tell you what I think. At the beginning of Arc 6, Roswell and Beatrice have a private chat, where he brings up how Subaru has taken in another witch factor, to which Beatrice replies, "Betty is Subaru's, in fact. Therefore, Subaru will remain Subaru, I suppose." Subaru will remain Subaru. What I take from that exchange is there's a chance that the personalities of the previous authority users could overwrite the current one. There's also the weird inconsistencies with Invisible Providence and the Sloth Witch Factor. It had to be stabilized by Echidna, unlike Corleonis, and it makes him physically sick to use it in most cases. There's something different about it compared to other authorities. Of course, there's also Sirius's insidious comments about Betelgeuse still being within Subaru. Soul and soul shall melt together, flesh and flesh shall become one, and like that beloved person shall surface, though it shall take some time, And I will drag that person out from inside you. Even Amelia feels Gyuse's presence when Subaru uses invisible providence on her. So it's not just Sirius's delusions. The worst thing that could happen is the people of Lagunica seeing the Council's suspicions proven correct, like Sirius escaping and enabling that fragment of Gyuse inside him to overtake his body. That really would be the worst thing that could happen, which is exactly why I think it's going to happen. I also think that Capella will shapeshift into Subaru at some point and further ruin his reputation. But I mean, come on, that's basically a guarantee. Last time, I speculated that Amelia's I hate you speech from the future trial will be directed towards Ferris, and she'll be reciting the words he told her back in Volume 44. I still believe that last part, but now I'm leaning towards it being Subaru she's talking to. Originally, I ruled this out because Amelia says she hated this person since she first met them, which doesn't track for Subaru. But now, I wonder if Subaru will tell her to say this in order to distance herself from him and clear her name. His reputation would be beyond saving, and he'd take the fall so that she wouldn't be persecuted too. Moving right along, Otto, Garfield, Rem, Meili, and Petra escape house arrest and almost immediately get cornered by Reinhardt. The Sword Saint has been dispatched to bring them in, and although Garfield puts up a great fight, they're pretty much toast until Wilhelm shows up. He delivers the line, "To the kingdom of today, my sword cannot be lent." Sorry, I don't have any smart observations about this, it's just that Wilhelm defecting against the kingdom and facing off against his grandson is so damn cool. After landing a strike, Wilhelm helps everyone escape, while Reinhardt unsheaths the dragon sword. That either means the sword sees Wilhelm as worthy, or the whole group together. There's not some hard rule that it can only be one person, at least as far as I know. If the sword does have a consciousness of its own, as it's been implied, it does make sense that it would see a group collectively as a worthy threat. I think it's likely the sword god whose voice the Sword Saints hear is the soul of Reed Estrella himself, and Reed isn't a guy who seems to care much about the rules of engagement. I want to give a massive shout out here to I Solved ReZero's Biggest Mystery, a video by Garkar, a translator at Witchcult Translations. He details his fully fleshed out theory that Heinkel has the Pride Witch Factor, and by extension, Reinhardt is the result of his father's authority. I won't try to summarize it, just go check it out, it's great. I'm even more convinced of it after these chapters that show Reinhardt's role in apprehending the Amelia camp on behalf of the kingdom. He's used as an agent of justice, a tool to enact judgment on those perceived of wrongdoing, like Typhon. This may be instrumental in defeating Reinhardt as well. If Heinkel fully passes the witch factor to Reinhardt, or loses it in some other way, that could strip Reinhardt of his divine protections, which could lead to Wilhelm's future trial line about him being unable to wield the sword. Or maybe, if the sword does have Reed's consciousness, he'd just abandon Reinhardt after discovering he's the product of an authority. That would be in character. Meili uses her divine protection to send sandworms to the capital in order to thwart Reinhardt, throwing away her pardon and further tarnishing the Amelia camp's image. I'll come back to Meili in a bit. While traversing the sewers, Subaru, Beatrice, and Crusch, this guy's here too now, are confronted by a mysterious masked man referred to as Black Dog, who's there to retrieve Crusch for her divine protection of wind reading. Suddenly, they're attacked by another new character, Clarissa the Shatterer, who belongs to a group called the Beloved Children. After a daring escape, Subaru wakes up in a new location, where Russell Fellow explains that he's not truly a merchant, but the head of the Six Tongues, a counterintelligence agency secretly fighting against Capella Emirata Lagunica. As he tells Subaru, it is highly feared that the kingdom's council of wise men, as well as the majority of its upper nobles, have been replaced by Capella Emirata Lagunica, matriarch of the Beloved Children, and that the Dragon History Stone now lies in the hands of the aforementioned Lust. Russell also tells him that the Six Tongues has existed since the Demi-Human War. I think we'll soon discover that Capella, for whatever reason, orchestrated the Demi-Human War. Narratively, that could be the reason why Old Man Rom and Wilhelm are brought together in this arc. There's some great potential with having the veterans learn that the entire war was based on a lie. I can already imagine them putting aside their long-standing hatred to work together in the climax. We're going to be getting some good stuff with this pairing. All this spy stuff is perfectly in line with the theme I discussed in the last volume, with Otto and Reinhardt particularly. This idea of characters wearing masks. Here we have characters with actual secret identities, inner lives they keep hidden for their own protection. It does feel like a surprising revelation, but it's really just an extension of what we knew this arc would be dealing with from the very first chapter. Subaru meets another member, a girl called White Sheep, who escaped from Capella's grasp along with Black Dog after Subaru's attack on Betelgeuse. Apparently, the cult briefly fell into disarray, and they were able to leave amidst the chaos. Meili was an ex-beloved child too, and these last 2 volumes really hint her future isn't looking too bright. She was conveniently absent in the conversation with Sakura last volume, so I get the sense they probably would have recognized each other. White Sheep has a comment about how Mother doesn't forget a face, so Capella is definitely going to spot Meili, and nothing good can come from that. Her words after distracting Reinhardt have a sense of finality to them. I thought that perhaps my sins could be forgiven, and I could walk upon a path of decency. In truth, I even thought of walking towards such a future alongside those who treated me so kindly. That was enough, because my chest was blanketed with warmth, the same as it was when I was with that handful of an elder sister. I got to see this dream, after all. That said, I don't think we should expect a permadeath for Meili. She's living proof that Subaru's rehabilitative nature is viable, and unless ReZero is getting a lot more cynical in its messaging, I think she'll continue to serve that role. But certainly in some loops, death or horrific punishment at the hands of Capella and her faction is definitely on the table. Now, I'd like to take the time to go over some of the interesting character parallels we've seen up to this point and beyond. The obvious parallels between Ferris and Subaru last volume are reiterated in this one, particularly during a conversation between Crusch and Subaru. By sending the Church of the Divine Dragon to my doorstep and deceiving Ferris with guileful words, they schemed to have me withdraw from the royal selection. Were it not for that, that individual would have never committed an act that tramples upon the vow between His Highness and myself. Crusch, having utmost faith in her knight, thinks the idea of Ferris breaking their vow on his own volition is preposterous, but Subaru is made a bit uneasy hearing this because he perfectly understands the feelings that made Ferris do what he did. He's no stranger to situations where he tramples on the wishes of the woman he's supposed to serve. At the end, Subaru runs into Ferris again, or Special Agent Blue Snake. He's now serving as a healer for the Six Tongues, including taking care of the unconscious Crusch, but was kept hidden under a cognitive disruption robe. This, of course, feels like the end of Arc 3, where Subaru arrives back at Arlem Village to evacuate the people and Amelia, his identity obscured from her using her own cognitive disruption robe. Speaking of Arc 3, there's also some juicy parallels between Crusch and Subaru back then. Crusch's present words and deeds were the same as Subaru's when he had erupted with ire for not being understood, brandishing information gained by a method incomprehensible to others, named Return by Death. I don't have too much to add there, that was pretty succinct. Crusch now has a dragon eye, which gives her some form of enhanced perception. It really reminds me of how Cecilis referred to Subaru's Return by Death as a special sight. Then we have Russell Fellow and Roswaal, who are apparently good friends. Subaru and Beatrice even comment on his similarities to Roswaal directly. They're both people who will do whatever is necessary to accomplish their ultimate goal. Like Roswaal, Russell is trying to make Subaru take after him and his narrow worldview. For the sake of the kingdom, the sake of the future, and the sake of your precious allies, in order to arrive at the final destination, please always pursue the best course of action, no matter what. If it is for the purposes of accomplishing that goal, then even if it is a choice that may be accompanied by pain, I hope that you select it. As they attempt to leave the capital in dragon carriages, they get stopped at a checkpoint, but an accident happens that gives them an opening to escape. Without a doubt, Russell set up this accident, showing he's willing to injure bystanders for the sake of the mission. Very Roswaal-like. I think we can trust that Russell is dedicated to his cause and won't defect to Capella or anything like that. but he's also someone who will sell Subaru out in a moment's notice if it'll help him achieve success. Roswell's long-term goal is to revive Echidna, and last time I speculated that Russell's goal in this arc would be to revive the Royals with the sacrament of the Immortal King. If that is the case, that inability to move on from the past would be another parallel between them, but it's too early to tell. The last volume had Beatrice compare Otto to Roswell, so I wonder if we'll see Russell and Otto's dynamic soon, and whether or not they'll see eye to eye. I know Otto was forced to work under him in the Pride If, but to be honest, it's been a very long time since I read that. Given what we know now, I assume Russell's interest in him is for his divine protection, which would be excellent for a spy agency. Lastly, we see Reinhardt and Subaru put into a similar situation in this volume. Reinhardt, for the first time, sheaths the dragon sword without using it, and leaves to save the citizens from Meili's sandworm attack. Reinhardt had to go, or there would be casualties. And then there's Subaru, who jeopardizes his escape from the capital to run out and help those affected by the carriage accident. My best course of action is to not abandon anyone who could be saved here. They're still different. Subaru's actions show he's a rule breaker, even at the expense of his own safety, while Reinhardt's actions are about upholding his duty as protector. But it's a great point of comparison because both cases show how their priorities still lie with saving lives. Man, the eventual reunion between these two is going to be something to behold. I honestly can't wait. The final chapter of the phase has finally come out, so I'm coming back here to record this last part and wrap things up. We get confirmation that Black Dog was the one that caused the collision, not Russell himself. But the way that White Sheep looks at Russell with righteous indignation after learning this makes it pretty apparent that this was still done with Russell's approval. He's still responsible for it. Also, it's made clear that White Sheep has a form of mind control, but it's only effective if the person has those feelings already. If it's something that they would never do, she can't force it, hence why Subaru was able to break through it. Subaru helps Ferris and the guards save the lives of those injured by the accident, and he even runs into the Appa salesman from Arc 1 again. It looks like not everyone in the populace is on board with the smear campaign against Subaru. Katamon here ain't buying it. We really don't get ordinary citizens' views on the royal selection much at all anymore, so this was refreshing to read. I'm hoping for a lot more of this, honestly. Crusch and Black Dog intervene to stop the royal knights from apprehending Ferris and Subaru, and together they all return to the carriage. There, many of them agree with Subaru that they should avoid taking lives on their mission, turning the group into a mini Pleiades Battalion 2. I miss those guys. Russell then reflects on how, essentially, Roswell has failed at turning Subaru into someone like him. If it wasn't clear by now, those clashing worldviews about how to walk the best path are going to make up the core ideological conflict of Arc 10. I think it's interesting Arc 7 and 8 paired Subaru up with a cynical realist trying to stop his nation from collapsing, and Russell is poised to fill that same role here. I wonder what'll separate Russell from the foils we've already seen before, like Vincent or Roswell. I'm not really sure at this point, he's hiding quite a lot. I do think, like Vincent and Roswell, Russell will eventually become aware that Subaru has some kind of special fate-bending power. When he first sees Subaru again in this phase, he explains his divine protection of evaluation shows the cell phone is only valuable when in Subaru's possession. In this chapter, we get another info drop on his divine protection, where we learn he uses it to develop his plans. There's gotta be something there where he uses his divine protection to deduce that Subaru is an anomaly, who creates his own unique path, in a similar vein as the cell phone. There's no way a guy as smart as Russell with that power doesn't figure out something's up with him. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and a big thanks again to Wishcult Translations for all their hard work. I've been thinking about doing some more casual videos like this in the core break, but obviously there's not another new volume yet, so let me know if you have any ideas. I was thinking maybe the X volumes or the If stories, but I don't know. The If stories especially might demand more than this style of video. Anyway, keep your chin up. Later, brother.